of Fame Board of Trustees. We hope that you have an exceptionally fine time. Today, we honor those who represent the finest in our sport. Our sponsors are invaluable to making this day special. We're very indebted to Fasig-Tipton for allowing us to use this remarkable facility. And our sponsors, Chartis, FTI Consulting, and Sotheby's. We thank them for their generous sponsorship. And we also hope that you enjoy not only this proceeding, but the races today and the Hall of Fame race, which features and honors those who've been recognized. So, a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thayer. Of course, no Hall of Fame ceremony is complete without a good keynote speaker. We have some people in this audience, many of you who appear to be very well fed. And if you fashion yourself as a foodie, well, our keynote speaker this morning probably captured your stomachs long before his racehorses captured your attentions. Let's have a look.
Their own show on Food Network. Who will be the next Food Network star?
How cool is it that this Iron Chef shares with you an ironclad love for thoroughbred racing? Straight from the Food Network, here is Breeders' Cup winning owner, Mr. Bobby Flay.
Watch that Breeders' Cup win over and over. Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I want to start out, of course, by congratulating the connections of Safety Kept, Sky Beauty, Open Mind, and of course, Mr. Jerry Hollendorfer. I also want to recognize the inductees elected to the Hall of Fame through the historic review process as well. The horse Duke of Magenta, jockey Shelby Hyde Barnes, and the trainer Matthew Burns. You know, a few people have asked me, why Bobby Flay? What's he doing giving a keynote address at the Thoroughbred Hall of Fame inductions? A really good question, actually. There are so many other wonderful people who have certainly been in the game much longer and have certainly accomplished much more. The truth is that I asked to be asked. The truth. When the Hall of Fame inductees were announced and Safety Kept was amongst this year's class, I felt compelled to offer a speech to kick things off. Barry Weisward and Britt Santulli, who raced her as owners, and Alan Goldberg, who trained her, are very special to me. Al Goldberg trained my first good horse, the stakes winner, Gilded Gold. Britt Santulli let me take a piece of my first important mare, Wonder Again, and let me get a taste of what it's like to run in a Breeders' Cup race. Not because he had to, but because he knew I had the fire in me to one day get more involved, and this was one way to ignite my interest in thoroughbred ownership. Barry Weisward is my most trusted friend and thoroughbred advisor. He steers me in the right direction in the management of all my racehorses and bloodstock, and spends countless hours at the horse sales trying to keep me from bidding on the horses that I have no right trying to own. Sometimes he's successful at that, but not always. So many people in the thoroughbred business, owners, trainers, breeders, farm owners, track operators, they've all been so incredibly gracious to me. They say things like, Bobby, I just want to thank you for being involved in our game, and thank you for helping us promote thoroughbred racing, and really good-natured things like that. Well, the credit should really go to those three men I just talked about. They introduced me to the game in the right way. Honesty, integrity, and think about the long term. Think about the big picture when you get into this game. And so today, I just want to, today's the day I want to give them sort of the homage to them and their special day getting something into the Hall of Fame. People ask me all the time, how'd you get involved in thoroughbred racing? Well, it was really simple. I would visit my grandfather, Willie Flay, in Atlantic Beach during the summer, and around at 9 o'clock in the morning, every day in the summer, he would open the screen door and look up at the blue sky, and look and look and look until he found one cloud, and he'd say, "You can't go to the beach. Let's go to Belmont." Just one cloud, that's all it took. And off he'd go. My grandfather and me, his 14-year-old grandson. He would dupe the guy at the door at the podium at the Garden Terrace, the restaurant that overlooks the racetrack. And we'd have a full day of lunch and racing. Now at that point, I was only 14 years old, so I really didn't know how to read the racing form. But my strategy was very easy. $2 on every horse Steve Kaufman rode. At that point, he was known as the Kid, and he was magic then. That's why they called him the Kid. He was an infectious part of the game, and it really drew my attention. And then my grandfather and my father took me right here to Saratoga, and that was it. I was hooked. I remember staying at the Grand Union Hotel on Broadway, hitting Hattie's Chicken Hatch for the best fried chicken, going to the Wishing Well, eating lobsters, and waiting to hear who won the last race. I don't know, my grandfather never wanted to stay for the last race. He wanted to make sure he had his table first, and then we could find out who won, when everybody got there. But we'd start our mornings first at Mrs. London's, in the original location on Pilot Street. And seeing characters like Jimmy the Greek, the famous TV odds maker and racing tout, drinking coffee and reading the racing form, it just felt like I was in Hollywood. The boys from Don Pepe in Queens had a place that we called the Mansion, an Italian restaurant, where you ordered a bunch of family-style Southern food and behaved. On the weekends, I grew up asking my mother to take me to the park. Of course, I meant Belmont Park. People always remember where they are when a really important historic thing happens, or something takes place in their life. When President Reagan was shot outside the Washington Hilton Hotel in 1981, my classmates were in school taking math class. I was with my friends, horse enthusiasts, Johnny Chi and Andy O'Connor, trying to figure out the 4th race at Aqueduct, after cutting out of school to find our fortunes in Jamaica, Queens. When over the closed-circuit television, with the television odds and the live feed of the track, was replaced with the startling news of what had just happened. I've now followed racing for over 30 years. As an owner and breeder for about the last 10, but with way more gusto in the last 5, and man, do I love it. Horse racing keeps a little kid who got to the ball field 3 hours before the game during my Little League career alive. What's the goal? Well, for me, it's simple. From a business standpoint, try to make a profit. From the perspective of racing goals, it's just not that simple. I don't walk the shed roads with the sales companies looking for the next Kentucky Derby winner. My goal is much simpler. I just want to compete. I love the competition. My father has always given me the same simple life advice over and over. Bobby, just do the right thing and success will follow you. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but eventually it will come. Owning over 10 restaurants comes with automatic competition. Facing off on Iron Chef over 60 times brings chefs from all over the world into Kitchen Stadium with one thing on their mind: to absolutely annihilate me over the next 60 minutes. When all the smoke clears, win or lose, we get to compete. I've had the luck to run in races like the Breeders' Cup, the Kentucky Oaks, or even the Coronation Stakes of Royal Ascot in the United Kingdom. Those events come with no sleep for days leading up to it, and complete emotional exhaustion when they're over. It's just not the racing. If that was the case, none of this would make sense. Introducing friends, colleagues, and family to the game, getting dressed up in top hat and tails, hitting the winner's circle with people who have never been to a race before, that's the feeling that you cannot bottle. That's the feeling that puts us all in a room like this to celebrate great horses and great people of thoroughbred horse racing. Last year, my filly, as you just saw, More Than Real, won a Breeders' Cup race, and I think I've watched it over 300 800 times. I'm not exaggerating. It's probably a low number, actually. Today, Saratoga means something different to me than it did when I was up here with my grandfather, Billy Flay. It's the morning workouts, the spectacular sales that I love to participate in. And of course now I have an owner's badge, which gets me into the track, free of charge. My routine is slightly different, but of course similarities based on my Saratoga upbringing. I still hit Hattie's with the best fried chicken. Sadly, Jimmy the Greek is long gone, but in a way he's been replaced by a guy named Patsy, no less name. He's easy to spot at the track. He only wears black, and he has an opinion on every race, every trainer, and every horse, etc. The funny part is, he's right a lot of the time, and I consider him a friend. Mrs. London is still serving the best morning pastries in town, but at a new location. My grandfather did not go to Ciro's after the track, but I've added that as my go-to destination after the last race for a handful of cocktails and some awesome people watching. Knowing sadly that the races are over, but that a full card is less than 24 hours away. I love Saratoga. Obviously, I share the same love affair for the town, the track, and the sales that most people touched by it do. The Hall of Fame. It's a phrase that has so much power behind it. As a kid, it seems so distant that we don't even try to achieve it in our dreams. We're in our backyards making believe that we just hit a grand slam on a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, down by 3 runs in Game 7 of the World Series. We've all done that. Or we hit the winning shot in the final game of the NBA championships with the buzzer going off and the ball in the air. You know, of course, over Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Even making that putt on the 18th at Augusta to win the Masters and send Jack Nicklaus to his knees in defeat. We've all had those dreams, but no one as a kid thinks about their acceptance speech at the Hall of Fame. As a thoroughbred owner, we can't imagine owning a horse like Secretariat winning by 31 lengths to complete the Triple Crown. Or buying a yearling for $17,000 and naming him Seattle's Blues, who achieved Triple Crown greatness in 1977. Who could ever imagine having a horse that will one day stand in ceremony next to these greats and achieve spectacular success to land in the Hall of Fame? Who could imagine a filly like Safely Kept, built like a stallion, with rocket ship speed and stamina, would beat the boys in the Breeders' Cup Sprint just a year earlier after running second the year before? She won 24 of 31 races. I know firsthand that Safely Kept not only brought so much excitement, joy, and financial windfall to their owners, but created a lifelong bond between 3 men who are all better for it today, because that filly could run like the wind. Open Sky achieved success for her own Eugene Klein and Hall of Famer Dwayne Lucas's champion filly at 2 and 3. Sky Beauty, who was born right here in 1991 as a Saratoga yearling by Georgia Hoffman, and trained by another Hall of Fame trainer, the giant killer, Alan Jerkins, was the last filly to complete a sweep of the Triple Sierra in 1993. And Jerry Hollendorfer, the winningest trainer in Northern California history, will take his place amongst names like Woody Stevens, Charlie Whittingham, and Lucien Lauren for achievements as a Hall of Fame trainer. That's a pretty nice ring to it, doesn't it, Jerry? Mr. Hollendorfer, they say all great men are surrounded by great women. And today, that great man is you. Sole gentleman of this year's Hall of Fame inductees. A man amongst 3 great race mares, Open Sky, Sky Beauty, and Safely Kept. You know, I visit the Racing Museum and Hall of Fame every year here in Saratoga, and I look forward to seeing your names amongst the best of all time. We as an industry at this very moment are faced with controversy and adversity, but I would never use this forum to address those issues. No way. Today, we imagine the impossible. Today, we celebrate countless achievements. Today, we're kids again in our backyards, but this time we're in beautiful Saratoga Springs. Today, we congratulate the 2011 Thoroughbred Hall of Fame inductees. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for indulging me on this very special day. I'm Bobby.